have a startup of my own, one that is based in India actually. So it's a solar integration kind of firm which focuses on Indian market, solar market specifically. What we tried doing there was to introduce some new technologies to the solar market right there. So we started with, we had a collaborator in Sweden who was manufacturing bifacial solar panels. So these panels produce energy from both sides. And they have the unique property that they are glass panels and they can be mounted vertically. So it saves a lot of space. So in the Indian context, it was very interesting for us because we have less rooftop space, and space in general is a problem. And especially we needed this more electricity in these big cities, and they have even lesser of a rooftop space. We proposed that we could use these bifacial panels for projects like the railways, the metro rails within the city, where it can be mounted vertically all along the railway tracks. So it saves on the space, and it also acts as a noise barrier because it's a really thick glass panel. That's the project we were doing in India. And then I moved to UK about 10 months back, and I've been working on 2 projects since then. One is called SamayanSolar, which is sort of integrated with my Indian startup, and I'm trying to take back more relevant projects and technologies to India. The other is was with Origin Power, where I was working, where they try to use natural gas, convert it into electricity, and in the process remove more carbon dioxide from the air than it produces. So those are the 3 kinds of projects that I'm working on. Actually, my projects, since it was infrastructure scale, it constantly involved authorities and the ministries. So, and both here as well as in India. So in India, well, we faced the problem that it just took much longer, and the government guidelines about these technologies and how to approach them is never so clear. So there are all these reading between the lines, and a lot of time it depends on the officer in position to make the decision. It's not always just what's written, because it constantly gets modified. So policy-wise, that was one thing a problem that we were facing, especially in bringing something new to the market. In UK as well, we have observed that though the policies are much more elaborate, it's not always as clear, and you could just fall between the lines and not really completely in the range that the government has prescribed. Not always government, so something like the grants for Innovate UK, which are for the research and development grants. Their guidelines focuses on certain areas every year, and if you don't fall into that category, it's very difficult for you to push your project ahead. So that's the kind of problems that we have faced in both the countries. From this point of view, ours is the technology was in a very nascent stage, so it has not reached the level that we have implementation problems as of now. We've just come up with the demos and prototypes as of now. But what we want to do is make a 1 megawatt scale plan, and most of these grants require you to at least have a letter of intent from one of the big companies who will possibly think about buying it. But if it's at such a stage where it's still the R&D and the prototypes, no big company wants to commit to that. So if the technology is proven, then it can be commercialized, and there wouldn't be a problem. But for people who are just developing it, for people who are still in the lab, and the researchers who are coming up with the new technology, it's still a problem on how to penetrate and how to make yourself being heard by authorities like that. That to include some of these things which are not in their priority list in the grants that they give out. The markets are totally different. UK or Europe is a much more developed market compared to India. In UK or in Europe, you are trying to shift to renewable energy by reducing the amount of conventional energy. In India, you still need both conventional as well as renewable. There's still a huge population which is deprived of energy. Maybe Delhi, Hyderabad, the most premier cities, all tier 2 cities still have a power shortage of 4 to 5 hours in a day. And that's the 4 to 5 hours when the electricity is diverted to the other nearby villages, tier 3 cities or the villages. So there's still a huge deficit in electricity as such. But the good part is, since uh, it's much more difficult and time taking and uh, to go for the conventional energy at that scale, that's why renewable has even a better push and a better chance of developing in nations like India and other developing economies. Whereas in Europe, UK, it's a choice that the government is making. It's not just to make it economically viable, but it's just a willing choice, and it would matter a lot on how you think or how the politics or the behavior, or it's a behavioral change, yes. In India, it's a necessity. That's the difference. Yes. So in terms of political and public consensus, um, first I would discuss the Indian market, where politically we have recently seen a lot of positive policies coming in. There's a lot of subsidies. There's a for even for industries, they're offering these accelerated depreciations and economic benefits for people to switch to green energy. So politically, it's very favorable. But it depends on which scale of market you are in. For the utility scales, they have a whole team, they have it very organized, so it's much easier for them. But still, in the small rooftop sector, it's still very much a chaos, and people don't know where to get the financing from, and if it increases their possibility of increasing the value of your property. And there are several questions that people are not sure about, and there has to be agencies which put this to ease, or make this more approachable for a common man. So wherever people know about it or listen to the policies, or if somebody can sit down and also in my personal experience, the people we could really explain this to, what applies to you, what you're getting, what's your return period on your investment, and so on. Once you can explain those things to the people, people are very eager to switch to solar energy, because in India, the solar energy is already at grid parity, so it's almost the same cost that you would pay to the conventional energy as of now. So it makes much more sense to go solar. Whereas here, I think in UK or EU, we have sort of crossed that margin already, where you had to give subsidies for people to turn. And right now is just a matter of how aware people are, or conscious in what they can save, or how they can reduce their carbon footprint. And in Oxford, I see people are quite aware, and the departments are trying to have small seminars or road shows, these small efforts that make people more conscious. And also, I think it's the youth or the student community which gets more not affected, but realizes it better, and they are a good source of spreading the message. So it's a whole different ball game in here.